He saw my boss dropping me off after a work party, and he said I was cheating and filed for divorce. Hello, Reddit. I'm honestly so torn about even writing this. I know how the internet works. People are going to read this, analyze every detail, and call me all sorts of names. Trust me, I get it. I deserve some of that. But I can't stop replaying everything in my head. It's like this endless loop of regret, guilt, and confusion, and I don't know what to do anymore. Maybe sharing this will help me make sense of it all. Maybe someone will read this and give me some clarity or guidance because I sure as hell can't figure it out on my own. Here's a little bit of backstory for context. Let's call my husband Ray. Ray and I are both in our late 20s, 29 to be exact, and we've been married for about 3 years. Everything seemed perfect in the beginning. I mean, isn't that how it always starts? Ray is an amazing person, and I'm not going to sit here and deny that or pretend he isn't. He's kind, reliable, hardworking, and honestly, he's everything anyone could ever ask for in a partner. He made me feel loved and secure in a way I'd never felt before, and for a while, I thought we were set for life. But over time, things began to change. It's hard to explain how or when it started, but I think most people in long-term relationships know what I mean. It wasn't anything big or dramatic. There wasn't some explosive fight or major betrayal. It was just boredom, the kind that creeps in so slowly you don't even notice it at first. One day you're laughing together, sharing inside jokes, and imagining growing old side by side, and then suddenly, without realizing how it happened, you look at the person lying next to you and feel like a stranger has taken their place. For Ray and me, it was gradual. Ray is stable to a fault, and for years I adored that about him. He was my rock, my steady hand when things got tough. But over time, that same stability began to feel predictable, comfortable, too comfortable, and while that might sound like a good thing, it began to weigh on me. It's not like he did anything wrong. He didn't change, but maybe I did. His predictability, once a source of comfort, began to feel suffocating. It was like I was sleepwalking through my life, and I desperately needed to wake up. Looking back now, I know how selfish that sounds. Hell, I hate admitting it even to myself, let alone putting it out here for strangers to read. But it's the truth. I wanted excitement. I wanted something, or someone that would make me feel alive again. This is where things started to get messy. At the place where I worked, suddenly my boss started to notice me. And I don't mean in a professional way. It was subtle at first. Just little things here and there. A compliment on my work, an extra smile when we crossed paths, or a casual question about my weekend that felt just a little too personal to be purely professional. Then, it began to escalate in ways that were hard to ignore. He started lingering a little too long when we talked. He would stare at me with this look on his face, and the way he laughed? God, it was almost ridiculous. He'd laugh at things that weren't even remotely funny. I knew my jokes were bad, but he would still laugh at them like they were the funniest shit he had ever heard. At first I brushed it off. I mean, he was just being friendly, right? That's what I told myself. After all, I'd been in the workforce long enough to know the difference between harmless compliments and something else. Or at least I thought I did. Besides, it's not like I wasn't used to attention from other men before. Even during my relationship with Ray, there were the occasional looks, the polite flirting at social events. It wasn't anything serious, and it certainly didn't mean anything. But something about the way my boss looked at me felt different. It was the kind of attention that lingered, that made me wonder whether there was more to his words than he was letting on. I told myself it didn't mean anything. After all, I'd been at this job for a couple of months now, and he hadn't acted like this before. If he had any intentions beyond being my boss, wouldn't he have shown them already? Surely this was all in my head, a figment of my overactive imagination brought on by the boringness of my life with Ray. And yet I couldn't get rid of the feeling. If I'm being completely honest, I liked it. I liked the way he looked at me, like I wasn't just a name on the payroll or the woman who filed invoices and organized schedules. Like I wasn't just Ray's wife. For the first time in what felt like forever, I felt seen. It wasn't just his attention, it was the way it made me feel about myself, like I mattered, like I was interesting, like there was something about me worth noticing. It woke up something inside me that I hadn't realized had been sleeping. I'd forgotten what it felt like to be noticed, to be wanted. And even though nothing had happened, and I swore to myself nothing would happen, it was intoxicating. I started looking forward to work. I told myself I was overthinking it, that I was reading too much into his gestures, but as much as I tried to brush it off, I couldn't deny the little excitement I felt every time I caught him looking at me like I was the most fascinating person in the room. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel invisible, and that terrified me as much as it excited me. It didn't help that he was everything Ray wasn't: charming, confident, and effortlessly charismatic. He had this magnetic energy that seemed to pull everyone toward him, but somehow it felt like all that charm was reserved just for me. When he spoke to me, it was as if the rest of the world faded into the background. He had this way of making you feel like the most important person in the room, like you were the only thing that mattered in that moment. I loved it, and before I even realized it, I started looking forward to our conversations way more than I should. I would find myself just waiting for those moments when we'd bump into each other at the coffee machine or when he'd stop by my desk to check in. My heart would race just a little faster, my pulse quicken, and I'd feel that flutter of excitement that I hadn't felt in years. Of course, I told myself it was all harmless. After all, nothing had happened. A few compliments, some eye contact, maybe a touch that lasted a fraction of a second too long, but that was it. No lines had been crossed. I wasn't doing anything wrong, right? But the real problem wasn't him or the attention he was giving me. The real problem was what it awakened in me. I started to care about how I looked, more than I had in years. At first it was subtle. I told myself it was just about feeling good in my own skin and reclaiming of the confidence I felt I'd lost. But deep down, I knew I was lying to myself. I began spending an extra 10, 15, even 20 minutes in the morning doing my makeup, agonizing over which outfit to wear. Would this blouse catch his eye? Did this skirt hug my figure in just the right way? I even started wearing heels again, something I hadn't done in years. It wasn't for me, and it certainly wasn't for Ray. I knew who I wanted to impress. I hated myself for it, but at the same time, I couldn't stop. That little rush I got when I caught him looking at me or when he complimented my outfit was addictive. It made me feel alive in a way I hadn't felt in a long time, and then it escalated. We started talking outside of work. At first it was just casual messages, a quick joke about something that happened during the day or a link to a funny meme. But it didn't stay that way. Soon we were texting each other every single day, and I mean constantly. It wasn't just surface-level talk either. We were having deep, meaningful conversations. He'd tell me about his dreams, his struggles, and his past, and I was opening up to him in ways I hadn't with Ray in years. He made me feel understood, like he got me in a way no one else did. I told myself it was still harmless, just two people talking, right? Friends. That's what friends do. I started lying to Ray. Little lies at first. Why I was smiling at my phone, why I was staying late at work, why I seemed distracted during dinner. He didn't question me much. Ray was trusting, maybe to a fault. He never pried, never pushed for answers. And maybe that made it worse, because the guilt wasn't enough to stop me. I continued to lie to Ray. It became second nature, honestly. He never pushed for answers, never questioned why I seemed distant, or why I was suddenly glued to my phone more often than not. Maybe that was part of the problem. He trusted me too much. His trust felt suffocating in a way I can't fully explain, like it was a weight I had to carry while knowing deep down I didn't deserve it. The lies started small, little white lies to cover up a text or a call here and there. But as things progressed, so did the lies. I wasn't just explaining away random things anymore. I was creating entire stories to justify why I was staying late at work, or why I suddenly had plans on weekends. And why did I have plans? Because we weren't just talking or texting anymore. We had started hanging out outside of work. At first it was innocent, grabbing coffee after hours, running into each other at lunch spots near the office. But even I knew the pretense was flimsy. These weren't random innocent encounters. They were planned, deliberate, and I was just as much a part of it as he was. We hadn't crossed that line yet, but it felt like we were getting there. It was an emotional affair in every sense of the word. He was the first person I messaged in the morning and the last one I texted before going to sleep. He knew things about me that even Ray didn't know anymore. He knew how I felt about my job, about my marriage, about the dullness that had crept into my life like a thief in the night. And he listened. He made me feel heard, validated, seen. It was addictive. I know I sound stupid saying all this, but I just can't lie about how I felt. And yes, there was a part of me, a small, stubborn part of me, that kept holding back. I couldn't fully let go. Couldn't take that final step into the territory I knew I couldn't come back from. Why? Because I was scared. I was scared of what it would mean, of what it would say about me as a person, as a wife. I wasn't ready to face that kind of judgment from Ray, from myself, from anyone. And then there was the guilt. It was there too, even if I tried to suppress it. Every time I saw Ray sitting on the couch, trusting and oblivious, it hit me like a punch to the stomach. He didn't deserve this. I knew that. I knew he loved me in his own quiet, predictable way. I told myself that as long as we didn't cross the physical line, it was fine. That it wasn't really cheating. That I wasn't doing anything wrong. But deep down, I knew that was a lie too. And then there was the work party. Our office didn't have them often, but when we did, they were always these big, fancy affairs. Expensive venues, open bars, lots of reasons to let loose. The most recent one was no different. Ray had driven me there, but he hadn't come inside with me. I didn't even try to convince him to join. I knew it wasn't his scene at all. He wasn't a fan of parties or socializing in general, especially with my coworkers. So I went alone. And honestly, for the first time in months, I felt like I could finally breathe. In the crowd, laughing, mingling, feeling alive again. I hadn't realized how suffocating it had been for me to be stuck in this monotonous, predictable routine with Ray. And I knew that wasn't fair to him, but I couldn't stop feeling that way. At the party, I felt wanted. I felt seen. And it felt so good. The night wore on. I had a couple of drinks, nothing excessive, just enough to feel a little buzzed, a little light in the head. And when it got late, I figured Ray had probably already gone to bed, maybe even asleep. I didn't want to wake him up and disturb his peace, so I didn't think twice when my boss offered me a ride home. It seemed harmless at the time. He had given me a ride home once before, a few weeks ago. There was nothing strange about it. I mean, it was just a ride, right? So I accepted. We made small talk in the car, the kind of talk you have when you're tipsy, and everything feels a little more relaxed, a little more open. I didn't feel nervous, not really. But when we pulled up outside our house, he stopped the car, looked at me, and asked for a kiss. I wasn't fully sober. The alcohol had lowered my inhibitions, and I wasn't really thinking straight. But I was attracted to him. I hadn't admitted it to myself before, but in that moment I felt it. So instead of resisting, I leaned in. I kissed him. It was nothing more than that, or at least that's what I told myself. I thought Ray was asleep. I figured he wouldn't have noticed, that he wouldn't see. So I smiled, thanked my boss, waved goodbye, and went inside. That should have been the end of it, right? Just another night, another ride home, nothing more, but of course it wasn't. Ray was waiting for me when I got in. I could see him sitting there in the living room, his gaze fixed on the door, as if he'd been waiting there for hours. As soon as I walked in, he asked who had dropped me off. The intensity in his voice startled me. It was more than I expected. I froze. I tried to cover it up, tried to explain it away, but there was no easy way to deny it. And it wasn't the first time I'd lied to him. But this time was different. His eyes were searching mine, looking for the truth, and for the first time, I wasn't sure I could lie my way out of it. I told him my boss had given me a ride home, that I'd had too much to drink, and I didn't want to disturb him. I tried to make it sound casual, harmless, but I could see the disbelief on Daniel's face. He didn't buy it. He accused me of cheating, and for a moment I couldn't breathe. I didn't know how to respond. He said he'd seen me kiss my boss. I was stunned, completely shocked. Panic set in, my mind racing to piece together a defense, but nothing came. How could I defend something I knew deep down was wrong? I hadn't gone all the way, hadn't crossed that final line, but I had crossed so many others. I had been playing with fire for so long, and now it was catching up to me. Daniel started listing everything he had noticed. The late nights at work, the texts I had been getting from my boss, the way I had seemed distant, the way I had pulled away from him in the last few months. And I couldn't deny any of it. He wasn't wrong. In fact, he was right about everything. I had been different. I had been slipping away, emotionally, mentally, even physically. The fight escalated quickly after that. Words were thrown that couldn't be taken back. And in the end, he told me he wanted a divorce. I begged him to reconsider. I told him it wasn't what he thought, that nothing had happened. But I could see in his eyes that he didn't believe me. And honestly, how could he? I had given him every reason to doubt me, every reason to distrust me. I had destroyed that foundation little by little until there was nothing left but lies. At first, Daniel said he was going to leave, but then he paused and said it didn't make sense to leave his house when he wasn't the one who had cheated. In the morning, he packed my things. He told me I had to go. I begged, I cried, I panicked, but he didn't listen. He was firm, cold, distant. He told me to leave, and so I did. I went to my parents' house in tears. My parents were furious with me, as they had every right to be. They didn't understand how I could do this to someone who loved me. Their house is far away, and the commute to work is brutal. Every day feels like a punishment. I can't help but wonder if I deserve it. It's been a week now, and he still won't talk to me. He won't even let me explain. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to fix things with Daniel. How do I make him forgive me? How do I even begin to make this right? Please, I'm desperate for advice. Update. Hello, Reddit. So here I am again. I knew deep down that coming here and sharing my story would open me up to a lot of judgment, but damn, you guys really know how to dish it out. I see all the comments, and yeah, I get it. I deserve the criticism. I never tried to paint myself as a saint, and I'm not trying to dodge blame here. I made some incredibly stupid choices, and I get it now. I understand the gravity of what I did. What I don't get, though, is how this situation feels like it's slipping through my fingers no matter what I do. I get it. I was emotionally invested in my boss. It was a mistake. I acknowledge that I crossed lines, and I should have never let it get that far. I didn't sleep with him, but I sure as hell made decisions that led me there emotionally, and I betrayed my husband. I get why Ray is pissed, I really do. But I've apologized, I've begged, I've tried everything I can think of to make things right, but nothing seems to get through to him. Ray, he just won't listen. Every time I try to talk to him, he shuts me down. Every attempt to show him that I'm truly sorry, to explain how much I regret everything, only pushes him further away. He's so adamant about wanting a divorce, says he doesn't want me back, that I'm not welcome in his house anymore. He told me I can take my things when it's convenient, but it feels like he doesn't even care about me anymore. I'm tired. I'm just so damn tired. I've been crying nonstop. I've been trying to put everything back together, but every step forward feels like 2 steps back. My work has tanked. How could it not? My personal life is a mess, and it's spilling into everything. I'm exhausted, mentally and emotionally. I'm trying to stay focused at work, but my mind keeps spiraling back to Ray and this mess I created. I can't seem to get out of this dark hole I've dug myself into. And the worst part? He won't even let anyone talk to him. Not even my parents. They've tried to intervene, tried to make him see that I'm genuinely sorry, that I made a huge mistake, but he won't even hear it. He's done with me. And even worse, his family won't speak to me either. It feels like I'm completely alone in this. I'm losing him, I'm losing everything, and no matter what I do, it feels like I can't stop it. Our mutual friends, they've picked sides too. They think I cheated. They think that because I kissed my boss, I'm no better than a cheater who slept around. They don't care that nothing physical happened. They think I betrayed Ray, and in their eyes I did. They don't care about my reasons, they only see me as the villain. Then, as if things couldn't get worse, there's the HR meeting. I don't even know for sure what it's about, but I have a feeling it's connected to my boss and me. I'm terrified. I have no idea what they'll say or do, but after everything that's gone down, It feels like the last nail in the coffin. I just want to fix this. I want to make things right with Ray. But he doesn't want to try. I feel like I'm drowning. Every effort I make to repair things only seems to push him further away. I'm so lost and confused. How do I fix this? How can I prove that I truly regret what I've done? It's like every door is closing, and I'm just standing here, watching it all fall apart. I'm asking for help, but I don't even know where to turn. Should I just give up on trying to fix things with him? Should I accept the reality that he's done with me? I don't want to, but if he's not willing to work through this, what am I supposed to do? I'm just so tired. I need some guidance. Please. Update. Hey, Reddit, it's been a while. I actually wanted to update you for a bit now, but I kept typing it all out, then deleting it. And I guess I felt embarrassed. I didn't want to face the fact that a lot of you probably saw this coming, but here I am. Anyway, I've got a lot to unpack, so let's just dive into it. First things first, the meeting with HR. Yeah, it didn't go well. I got fired. I know. Some of you probably saw that coming, but I'm still in shock. I can barely even process it. Why does it feel like when everything starts to fall apart, it all happens at once? It's like one bad thing is never enough. Now I'm dealing with my job loss on top of everything else. I'm trying not to cry, but damn, it hurts. So here's how the HR meeting went. I walked in, and of course my boss was there, which immediately sent panic through me. That was the first red flag. I could already feel my stomach drop. HR was brutally honest with me. They told me that someone, yeah, I know it was Ray, made an anonymous complaint about my relationship with my boss. They had screenshots, actual screenshots of our conversations, and apparently they connected all of it to my divorce. It's not like my divorce was a secret. Hell, I've been dealing with it for months. But to have it thrown in my face like that, it stung. Long story short, I got fired. They gave me a measly severance package, and that was it. My boss didn't get fired, though. He got demoted. I'm not sure if it's because of what happened or if it was just a power play, but yeah, demoted. Nepotism much, whatever. The whole situation feels so messed up. It's like I'm the only one who faced real consequences. I'm out of a job while he's still in the company, probably getting promoted again because of who he knows. I'm over it. I've been thinking a lot about whether I have any grounds to sue, but I really don't think I do. Our workplace policy specifically says no relationships between employees, especially when there's a power imbalance. So that's on me. I should have known better, and I did know better. But I'm not even upset about that job anymore. It sucked. The work was soul-sucking. The only thing that kept me going was the parties, honestly. Now that that's over, I guess it's time to move on, but I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I've started job hunting, but it's been rough. I've been at my previous job for a few years, and I had no idea just how bad the job market is now. It's oversaturated, and every position I look at already has 10 people applying for it. It feels hopeless. I'm just crossing my fingers that something comes through soon because I can't keep living like this. As for Ray, he's officially moving forward with the divorce. I can't even say I blame him. At this point, I'm not even fighting it anymore. I deserve this. I know I messed up. I've been sitting with this guilt, and honestly, I feel like a hypocrite. If Ray had done what I did to him, I'd be furious. I wouldn't forgive him, but here I am, suffering the consequences of my actions, and it's hard. The worst part is that it feels like I'm the only one who paid for it. My boss is still sitting pretty, probably plotting his next promotion. Ray's moving on, and I'm left with nothing. I've even been thinking about reaching out to my boss's wife. Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out. I've been considering sending her a message and telling her everything about the whole situation. I feel guilty for not coming clean sooner, and honestly, I don't know if I can live with myself if I don't tell her. But then I wonder if it's even worth it. We never slept together. We kissed, but that's all. And maybe she'll just forgive him and brush it off. It's not like we went all the way, right? But still, I can't shake the feeling that she deserves to know. Honestly, now that I don't have to go into work every day, I've been hiding out at home. I barely leave the house anymore. I've been isolating myself, avoiding my parents. The thing is, they've always made it clear that they're on Ray's side. They think he's right in everything that's happened, and that's kind of pushed a wedge between us. I can't talk to them about this, not when they've already chosen their side. So yeah, I'm alone. And I don't know where to turn next. I'm just lost. Every day feels like a struggle. I'm trying to find a job, trying to figure out what to do about Ray and the divorce, trying to figure out whether or not I should tell my boss's wife. It's a lot, but I feel like I have no one to talk to, so here I am, sharing it with you guys. What do I even do from here? Any advice? Update. Hey Reddit, it's been a while, huh? I guess I didn't know how to start this update. I'd sit down, type something, and just end up deleting it. Probably because I was going through some mental health stuff. Still am, honestly. But here I am, finally with an update. So here goes. First, the divorce. It's finalized. I really don't want to go into the details. It's still too raw. And honestly, I don't know if I have the emotional energy for it right now. It hurts. Like, physically hurts, you know? I never imagined this would be me, that I'd be the one to get a divorce. It feels like it all happened too fast, and yet, it feels like I've been drowning in this for ages. The only thing I'll say is that I didn't get any money or spousal support. Of course I didn't. It didn't surprise me. Ray didn't want anything to do with me, so why would he help me out financially? I know it's my fault. I get it. This mess started because of my actions, my affair, my mistakes. And no matter how much I try to accept that, it doesn't make the pain go away. One minute, I thought I had it all, everything I wanted, and the next minute, it's all gone. I never thought I'd be here at this point. As for my ex-boss, I did what I said I would. I reached out to his wife. I wasn't sure if it was even worth it, but I knew she deserved to know. We never slept together, but it didn't change the fact that we had an emotional affair, and honestly, it felt like I needed to come clean. I sent her a message on Instagram, explained everything, and included all the evidence. I told her the truth about what happened. I didn't think it would change anything, honestly. Maybe she'd get mad, maybe they'd argue, but I didn't expect her to leave him. I did what I could, though. Turns out she blocked me shortly after. A coworker, boss's secretary, I don't talk to anymore because he made a move on me when I was at my lowest, told me they'd been fighting. I don't know what happened after that, but yeah, that's the update on that. As for me, I'm stuck. I've barely left the house. My mental health has gotten so bad I don't even know what to do with myself. I'm not looking for a regular job anymore. Freelancing full-time is what I've been trying, but it's hard. It's hard as hell. The market's tough and I'm barely scraping by, but I'm making it work somehow. I'm hoping that with time my portfolio will grow and things will get easier. I've been spending most of my time at my parents' house. They made me an offer. I could live there rent-free indefinitely, as long as I agreed to take care of them when they get old. They said I didn't have to contribute anything, just take care of them. They also promised a substantial inheritance if I agreed to that. I'm an only child, so I guess they're looking at me as the one who will be able to do it. I told them I needed time to think. Honestly, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I want to. The idea of spending my life taking care of them, it sounds like a trap, but at the same time I feel like it's my responsibility. I'm not sure. They want me to sign a contract though, so it's not like I can back out once I agree. And then there's the part that still stings. My parents, who've been supportive through all of this, still have Ray in their lives. My dad goes fishing with him sometimes, talks about how great his new girlfriend is, and they even invited him to Thanksgiving. They still talk about him like nothing happened, and that hurts like hell. I told them I won't have dinner with them if they invite him over again. I just can't sit there and watch him, with his new girlfriend, at my dinner table. It would just be too much. So yeah, that's where I'm at, alone. I don't really talk to my friends anymore. They picked their sides, and none of them picked me. It's lonely. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm just here, trying to get through each day. I don't know if I'll ever be okay again, or if this is just my life now. But yeah, that's my update. Thanks for reading. Thank you to those of you who actually cared enough to DM me and check in. Like, honestly, my life is such a mess right now, and I know it's all my fault. I fucked up. I know that. I've been sitting here living with the consequences of my actions, and trust me, they're hitting hard. I also get it. Getting bashed online is part of the deal when you share your mistakes on a platform like this. I knew what I was signing up for, but it still stings, you know? It's like, yeah, I know I messed up. I don't need reminders every time I open this app. But for those of you who didn't just jump to pile on and actually took the time to send a message, check in, or show some kind of compassion, I mean it. Thank you. It means a lot more than you probably realize. So yeah, for what it's worth, thanks.